Good evening, good evening, good evening. Surprise, surprise, surprise. This is a very much pop up session tonight. It is not Momentum Monday. Thank you for joining in. I see you popping up out there on Instagram. And again, this is not Momentum Monday. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. I am Tamika Douglas, and I am here tonight. This is Social Work Month, where we appreciate social workers. So I'm going to try to pop on a few times this month just to talk about some topics that I believe will be helpful to each and every one of us because we are all ever learning. And so tonight, I want to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and I believe that it is so necessary that we hold these type conversations. You should see it in the caption area. A little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be at a high level. So it's not going to be any in-depth stuff. If you want the in-depth, if you want more information, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and we can talk about some consultation and things of that nature to go more in-depth. It's 10:10, and so it's late. But I had a little time, and again, I just wanted to pop on just to talk a little bit about what you see in the caption, living wills, advanced directives, insurance, and things of that nature. As a social worker with well over 2 decades of experience in the field of social work, mental health, grief, trauma, crisis. I've sat in some of the most intense meetings. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm also a chaplain, and so I work with a lot of people as it relates to just end of life. Whenever they're serving their parents or loved ones, in some cases their children, spouses, and things of that nature. And so there are conversations that I believe need to take place that are not taking place. In an appropriate time. And so when these conversations that I mentioned, the topic of them, when it's brought up and discussed, it's at a time where people are grieving and people are already stressed out. So tonight, at a very high level, I just want to talk a little bit about some of these conversations, the things that we all need to talk about. You see it in the caption, but nobody wants to talk about. So again, welcome. I see you joining in out there. Hello, hello, hello. For those of you who are here for the first time, I am Tamika Douglas. And tonight, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I'm hoping you will go ahead and have a conversation with your family about, with your loved one, with your parents, with your spouse, with your children, so that when we all one day do what we're all going to do, and that is leave here, that is die, we don't have family members that are stressed out, that are grieving, but yet having to make decisions, yet having to look for insurance documents, yet having to figure out what your final wishes are. So tonight, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Say something to me in the comments. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know you're out there. Let me know you're going to share this with someone that it may help. Go ahead and do it. I see you out there. So go ahead. Let's talk about it tonight. I know I'm not the only night owl out there. So you all are up and with me tonight. So we are going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about this. I want to first start out with advanced planning. In my role, I have to oftentimes make these decisions legally for persons who don't have families to make these decisions on them. So I'm making decisions a lot and have over the years about whether or not an individual will be resuscitated, whether or not they'll be intubated, how long they're going to be intubated, when do we extubate. And when I say intubation, because I don't want to assume that everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about, when I say intubated, they're put on life-saving measures, things that keep them alive. Extubation is when they remove those machines off of the individual. And so we're going to start there tonight. So say, for instance, hello, thank you for joining in tonight. For instance, you have a loved one and they are in a state where they need life-saving measures. They need something to keep their heart beating. They need something to help them breathe. Do you know that your loved one wants that? Would they want those measures? Do they want to be lying there in an incapacitated state where and they're not able to do anything for themselves? Or is it questionable? So these are the kinds of conversations that we can have in advance. And I know that some, have grown up in situations or in cultures where we've just kind of gotten away from having those conversations. We don't want to talk about, what our wishes are while we're still on earth, when we pass away. And so I think it's a good time now to think about that. And again, not only the fact that the years of experience I've had in the field that I'm in, but just of late, I've heard of at least 3 situations where people have lost loved ones. We all know daily we're hearing about deaths, but I've heard of at least 3 situations between this month alone about people who have literally was here today, gone today, not expected to pass away, but literally are no longer with us. And so in situations like that, do you already know where insurance documents are? Do you already know what that person's wishes are as it relates to their final resting place? And so those are conversations that we need to really think about having. But right now we're talking about that advanced care planning, that living will. That is so important. We talk about a lot about wills, who's going to get what we're going to leave for this person, but think about that living will. Think about if you're in a state where you're not able to speak up for yourself and you need someone to talk for you. What is it that you want to have? Are we withholding medications, or do you want to continue to be given medications? Some people say, okay, I don't want to be a feeding tube. So are we withholding nourishment? These are conversations that there's nothing wrong with talking to your loved ones about this in case it happens, because again, they're faced in many cases not knowing anything medically, not knowing what to do. These doctors, these practitioners are coming to them with all kinds of stuff, and in many cases, it's not broken down into the language that they know it to be or what they're familiar with. And so there's the stress of that, not knowing what in the world they're talking about unless they get someone that's willing to talk to them in layman's terms. So they're trying to figure it all out. And so it's so much easier when your loved one knows what your final wishes are. That way, if someone says, okay, they're not going to be able to eat on their own, it's a risk for them to try to, have food by mouth. So in order to give them nutrients, in order for them to be fed, we need to do a feeding tube. Well, it's a lot easier if you know that cousin Joe or grandpa or mom or dad doesn't want that. And then you can say, well, this is their wishes that they not have that. So let's have that conversation. And again, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you may not want to be the one to initiate that. So you get someone to have that conversation with you and your family to initiate that conversation. But again, let's talk about this stuff. It's so much easier when we have that stuff written down. Is the best way, of course. I mean, I learned in grad school and undergrad that if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And so make sure that it's documented if at all possible. But even if you communicate that to your loved one, it's so reassuring whenever a person knows this is mama's, this is daddy's final wishes. And they can just, it gives you so much consolation whenever you know that this is their wishes and you're doing the right thing. So again, in those orders, do not resuscitate. What are your wishes? Do we know that? I mean, those are things that you can even talk to your own children about, because guess what? Older people aren't the only ones dying. Younger people are as well. So think about that as well. Sometimes people say, no, I don't want my ribs being broken, and I don't want anybody pressing down on my body. I don't want anybody doing that to me. When I'm gone, I'm gone. And so, but a good rule of thumb is to have that conversation now, whether or not there are orders in place for life-sustaining treatment. That's important to think about. So, and also goals of care. That's another big deal. What are we going to do? What are your preferred settings as we have our parents who are aging and loved ones, maybe grandma or grandpa is getting older. Have you had that conversation about whether or not you're going to stay in your home and just remain there until you can't remain there anymore? And then do we position you with a loved one? Or sometimes granddad or grandma or mom or dad may say, well, no, I don't want to be a burden. And I don't think that it's necessarily being a burden, but sometimes people feel that way and they'll say, well, I don't want to be a burden on my loved one. I'm okay to go into assisted living or into a family care home or into a nursing home setting. So those are also very important conversations to have, just so you'll know what it is that they want, what the desire is. It's a good thing to have those conversations now, because again, once something happens, if something happens, we pray that it doesn't, but if it does, at least we'll know what it is that your loved ones want. And thinking also about, your proxy, having your healthcare proxy in place, as well as your durable power of attorney, knowing who that trusted individual is going to be, that's going to be able to make those decisions for you medically. It's good when we can have loved ones to do it, but again, there are some cases where you have to have someone else that's not a family member do it. But getting someone and having someone in place who you trust to manage that for you is very, very important. And you want to put those things in place as soon as possible. An example of decisions that your healthcare proxy is going to make, they're going to make for you on your behalf, if you're unable to do that on your own, is going to be your consent to take certain medications. They'll be able to speak on your behalf, decide on life sustaining treatments, whether or not that's going to take place, which hospital settings you're going to be in, things of that nature. Also, of course, there's the durable power of attorney. And again, this is at a high level tonight. It's late, but again, we can talk more about this and talk about, me having more further conversation with you about this. But again, the durable power of attorney, that's someone that's going to make those financial and legal, I said again, financial and legal decisions for you. That's very, very important. If you're in a state and you're incapacitated, you want someone that you can trust, someone that you can trust to make those decisions. They'll have that access to your banking information, your legal documents. And who are you choosing? You want to choose a responsible adult that you can trust. Oftentimes it's going to be your spouse or your child or someone that is trusted. Sometimes people, I have a close friend that wanted me to do that for them. So it just depends on who you can trust to do this for you, but make sure that it's an individual that is going to be responsible and do stuff that is within your best interests. And some of the decisions they'll make, again, is about your property, whether or not that property is bought or sold, managing your bank accounts, things of that nature. And so confirming your coverage, insurance, and all that is going to be necessary that you discuss that with them. Another good thing to discuss with your family while you are able, just in case, again, we're praying that it doesn't get to this point, but just in case it does, is your decision as it relates to hospice care versus palliative care, and knowing the differences in the two and what you desire as it relates to that, should that need ever arise. Those personal and legal matters, of course, your estate planning, where your wills are, making sure that you outline what your possessions are. Sometimes people have land and all of this stuff, and then families don't know. I can think about a good friend of mine, and it's just a horrible situation where she had a loved one that passed away, and they ended up not being able to secure the policies, and they were really pretty much sure that this individual had a life insurance policy. Sometimes people have had these policies for many years, but they could not find it anywhere. So talking about that, it's not going to hurt you to let your loved ones know where your policies are. This is where you find this information. If it ever arises, this is where it's located, because what good is it going to do if nobody knows where it is? So imagine your grief-stricken child, your grief-stricken husband, your grief-stricken loved one that is mourning your death, that you're no longer here, and then they're trying to find out where things are. So have those conversations now, put it somewhere that is still safe, but let somebody know. I'm not saying you have to let 10 people know, but let someone know where it is so that they'll be able to access that when that time comes. So these are some of the things that I really want us to think about putting in place and making sure that our loved ones have some kind of control if something were to happen. So they have all kinds of books now that you can order, and you don't even have to buy anything. Get a little notebook. They have beautiful journals in the stores that you can buy. And you can jot it down, write it down in that. If you want to get something a little more legal, you can find that. But by all means, get that stuff written down, have those discussions with your family members. I know it's not always fun. It doesn't mean that you're expecting to pass away next week, but it's good to know when the time comes. And this is not just for older people. This is for younger people as well. This is for me. When we, when you purchase your homes and things of that nature, your vehicles, when we pay those things off, because that is the goal. That's another, we might talk about that one day as well, getting rid of some of this debt and having ownership of these things. So when we pay this stuff off, who gets it? Who does it go to? Because gone are the days of fighting. I know mama would have wanted me to have this. I know grandpa wanted me to have this. I know grandma wanted me to have that. You can avoid all of that, all of the bickering, all of the relationships that are messed up because of who left what to this person and all of that. You can avoid all of that by writing this stuff down and having these conversations with your loved ones. This is who's going to get that. This is who is going to get this. And so let's have those conversations. I don't care if you're 21, go ahead and talk about that now with your loved ones, what your final wishes are, what your wishes are while you're still here. If something were to happen to you, talk about that, because some people don't want to be put on a bunch of machines or intubated or, just lying around and waiting, for what's going to happen. Some people, it's their desire to just let me go naturally. So it's a good thing to have those conversations and to have them now. Have them now while we can, making sure that you have your business in order and that insurance, that life insurance, getting that in place now. To each his own, but most people don't have time to set up all these GoFundMe's and then wait for the money. And I understand, I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm told that you have to give a certain percent and all of that. Well, there are many insurance agents now that can talk to you about great insurance plans, and especially when you're younger and you don't have a lot going on as far as your health is concerned. But by all means, put something aside for health insurance. That's another devastating thing, is when your family has to deal with your loss and then they got to figure out how they're going to put you in the ground. Oh my goodness. It doesn't have to be that way. The $20 that you spend on crab legs, with $30 on crab legs, these seafood broils, getting your nails done, getting a haircut, because now haircuts are about $20 from what I'm told, or even higher than that by the time you leave a tip. That could be going towards your insurance policy, so that if something were to happen to you, your family is able to put you away in a manner that is appropriate. They don't have to go out here trying to figure out how they're going to put your body in the ground, how they're going to respectfully, in a way that you would like, lay you to rest. And so getting that insurance in place, if you don't have it, before you can tell somebody where it's at, you have to get it. And so go ahead now and get with some of these agents and talk to them about a good plan for you, a good insurance plan, so that your family does not have to try to figure that out, because there's no fun in trying to figure out. And it's not fair to have to, for loved ones to have to go into their 401k, their savings, their things that they've put away for their future, to have to give for your burial. And it's certainly not fair for someone, an undertaker, to have to go on all of these plans and payment plans and never get their money, and because you didn't have your business in order. So getting that insurance and making sure that your insurance is in place. It is not that extreme. It's not that expensive, to get you a decent policy, so that you can be put away nicely and your family does not have to stress out about that. And so again, I hope this information is helpful. It's just something tonight that I wanted to just kind of bring to our forefront and to have on our radar, so that we can really think about this as we are aging, as life is moving on swiftly. Think about these things so that we are not trying to figure it out. It will already be in place and already be worked out for our loved ones, so that we are not trying to figure out someone's desires or where something is. Go ahead and think about it now and put it in place. I see you all out there. Again, we're going to try to jump on here with some other things, just some other things I believe that will benefit us all, and things that we can certainly all relate to, because we can all relate to losing loved ones. We can all relate to loved ones that may be terminally ill, who we have to make decisions for, and hope that we're doing the right things for them, in particular if they're in a situation where they can't speak for themselves. So I hope this has been helpful on tonight. Certainly, if you want to talk further about this stuff and want more extensive information, we can talk about, consult with people all the time on things like this, and go to various places and do just presentations for people on this stuff all the time. So I can certainly talk further with you about it at a later time. This is just at a high level tonight in hopes that it will help somebody who hasn't been thinking on this level. So thank you all for joining me. It's 10:30. Let's get ready to wind down and go to bed. I'm trying to do better with that myself. I am a night owl. I love staying up late at night. So I'm trying to do better about going to bed, going to sleep, and not staying up doing all kinds of stuff, paperwork, praying, reading, watching TV, and all of this other stuff. So let's go to bed. Let's get us a good night's rest. Hope this has helped you all. Again, join me next time. I don't know when I'm going to pop back on again to do this, but I am going to try to get on and do subjects similar to this throughout this month, and hopefully even throughout the year when I have the opportunity. Good night, everybody. Good seeing you all.